Chloe Peterson tweeted out something. She said that the Indiana Fever announced that they have waived Megan McConnell, Kiana Traylor, and Jessica Timmins. The Fever roster is now down to 12, plus one developmental spot taken by Justine Pissott. So Pissott made the team. So all of you people that was wondering, is Justine Pissott?
The Indiana Fever have officially finalized their roster decisions, and the reaction from fans tells you everything about where this franchise may be headed. 3 players were cut. 1 development contract was handed out, and behind all of it is a strategic decision that could define the team's entire 2025 season. According to reports from Chloe Peterson, the Fever waived Megan McConnell, Kiana Traylor, and Jessica Timmins on Wednesday, trimming the roster down to 12 players while using their final development spot on Jaylen Brown. That final move immediately sparked excitement across social media. But the other roster cuts have created serious questions about what Stephanie White is truly building in Indiana. Some fans believe the organization is fully committing to a win-no approach around Caitlin Clark, while others think the Fever may still have major roster weaknesses that could become a problem once the season begins. That's why these decisions suddenly feel much bigger than ordinary training camp cuts.
Caitlin Clark likes Stephanie White for whatever reason. They just posted something the other day with Stephanie and Caitlin playing around. I don't like Stephanie, me personally. I don't think she has what it takes to go all the way. I said this morning in the video. I don't want a coach that half-finished. I want a coach that could finish the job. Because Stephanie, she keep getting close, but she cannot get...
What makes the relationship between Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White so intriguing is that on the surface, everything looks positive. The players seem to genuinely enjoy playing for her. Fans constantly see moments of chemistry and laughter on social media, and there's clearly a strong connection inside the locker room. But in professional sports, liking your coach and winning championships with your coach are 2 very different things. Stephanie White has been close to greatness before. During her time in Connecticut, she coached talented teams that consistently competed at a high level, yet somehow never managed to fully break through when it mattered most. Now she arrives in Indiana with the biggest star the WNBA has seen in years, and some fans are beginning to notice a familiar pattern developing once again. A team talented enough to compete, but maybe not aggressive enough to truly dominate. The roster decisions announced this week only added to that conversation because they revealed exactly how White plans to approach this season, and it's not necessarily the direction many Fever fans were hoping to see.
But Justine, and I really like her too. So Justine Pissott has made the team. Let's finish reading what Chloe stated. She said Indiana will likely sign one of the 3 waived to a developmental spot after they clear waivers. Now, the next question will be, this is the next question. Who would be the next player they signed out of the 3 that was waived? So those of you guys who just now joining us, make sure you are...
3 Jaylen Brown earning the development roster spot is genuinely one of the positive stories to come out of this situation. Fans wondered around the team, and throughout the preseason, she proved exactly why. Whenever she got opportunities, she played with energy, confidence, and showed flashes that suggest she absolutely deserves a place in the Fever system. That decision makes sense, and most supporters seem happy about it. But the real debate begins when you look at the 3 players who were cut, because that's where the Fever's decision-making becomes far more complicated. Megan McConnell wasn't just another fringe player trying to survive camp. During the winter, she played in Women's National Basketball League in Australia and averaged 11 points, 6.2 rebounds, and 3.9 assists per game. Those are serious professional numbers from a player actively developing overseas against quality competition. Add in the fact that her brother TJJ, McConnell already plays in Indiana, and it felt like there was a natural fit both on and off the court. She understood the city, had strong basketball instincts, and brought versatility that many fans believed could help this roster long-term. Then there's Kiana Traylor, who quietly made a strong impression during the preseason with her perimeter shooting. She didn't receive huge minutes, but when her number was called, she consistently knocked down shots and maximized her opportunities. In today's game, where spacing and three-point shooting are becoming more valuable every single season, moving on from a player with that skill set raised a lot of eyebrows among Fever fans. Jessica Timmins saw less action than the others, but the bigger story isn't necessarily about any one individual player. It's about the pattern these decisions reveal. The Fever appear to be prioritizing a very specific type of roster construction, and whether that vision actually complements Caitlin Clark and leads to championship-level success is the question hanging over this entire offseason.
Scott has made the team, and we all should be happy. We all should be happy about Justine because she showed up and showed out. Stephanie White reminds me of our man and how he ruined, I'm not even going to, Prefontaine, a generational track runner who ran wire to wire and could torch the others. Megan, the next one to be signed. Yeah, I could see Megan being the next one to be signed because a lot of people felt the type of way about Megan McConnell. I think we all could agree on that. A lot of people felt it.
For Mal, here's where the situation becomes really interesting. Under WNBA waiver rules, all 3 players immediately enter waivers, meaning every team in the league now has a 24-hour window to claim their contracts. Once that period ends, they become unrestricted free agents. The expectation is that the Indiana Fever could still bring one of them back using their remaining development spot, but that immediately raises 2 major questions. Which player will they choose, and why didn't they simply commit to that player from the beginning? This is where roster management turns into a much deeper front office strategy game. By weighting all 3 players first and waiting to see what happens around the league, the Fever are essentially collecting valuable information about how the rest of the WNBA values these players. If another team quickly claims Megan McConnell or one of the others, that tells Indiana those players have real league-wide demand. But if every player clears waivers untouched, that sends a completely different message about their market value. At the same time, though, the process creates an uncomfortable reality for the players themselves. These are athletes who just spent weeks inside the Fever organization, competing through training camp, building chemistry, and fighting for roster spots, and now they're left waiting in uncertainty to find out whether any team in the league truly wants them. That's the harsh side of professional basketball business, and it's why these decisions feel far more complicated than a normal round of roster cuts.
Y'all heard what Sophie Cunningham said yesterday. Sophie Cunningham made it apparent that they will be running plays for Kelsey Mitchell. It's no secret at all that they will be aiming to make it their business to keep Kelsey Mitchell active. For whatever reason. For whatever reason they're deciding to do this is on them. But the fact of the matter is, this is another year where we're seeing Caitlin Clark potentially be failed by Stephanie White.
This Sophie Cunningham said something recently that deserves far more attention than it's getting. She openly explained that the Phoenix Mercury plan to run defensive schemes specifically focused on keeping Kelsey Mitchell heavily involved and active within the offense, and that detail matters. Not because Cunningham plays for Indiana, because she doesn't. She plays for Phoenix. But her comments offered a revealing glimpse into how opposing teams already view the Indiana Fever and the way they expect this offense to operate. Around the league, teams clearly recognize the hierarchy Indiana is building around. They understand that even with Caitlin Clark on the roster, arguably the most dynamic playmaker women's basketball has seen in years, the Fever still appear committed to featuring Mitchell as one of the primary scoring focal points. And that strategic decision changes everything about how opponents prepare for them. What makes this conversation so important is that it suggests Stephanie White may be sticking with the same offensive structure that helped Indiana reach the playoffs last season, but ultimately failed to carry them beyond the first round. The philosophy remains familiar. Kelsey Mitchell operating as the featured scorer, while Caitlin Clark functions primarily as the facilitator who creates opportunities for everyone else and only occasionally shifts into takeover scoring mode herself. For some fans, that balance makes perfect sense. For others, it raises serious questions about whether the Fever are fully maximizing the unique offensive talent sitting at the center of their franchise.
6.2 rebounds and 3.9 assists per game while getting crucial minutes. Megan McConnell balled out when she was in Australia. Definitely did. And I'm surprised to see her cut. But it was between her and Justine Pissott, and they definitely made it their move to sign Justine Pissott. So we all can't be mad about that. I have to be honest. We all cannot be mad about the Justine Pissott.
The comparisons to the Chicago Sky continue to surface, and there's a reason so many fans keep bringing them up. Yes, Chicago dealt with its own front office drama and controversial decisions. But there's one thing they made absolutely clear. They were fully committed to building around their young star talent. That's where many people believe the Indiana Fever are handling things differently. Right now, Indiana appears caught between 2 directions. On one hand, Caitlin Clark is undeniably the face of the franchise from a marketing and business perspective. She's the player driving national attention, ticket sales, television ratings, and global interest in the WNBA. But on the basketball side, the Fever still don't seem fully committed to structuring the entire system around maximizing her unique impact on the court. And to be clear, this isn't an attack on Kelsey Mitchell, who has been one of the league's most talented scorers for years. The real discussion is about organizational philosophy. When a franchise lands a generational player, do you reshape everything around that talent and fully lean into their strengths? Or do you try to balance multiple priorities and hope the chemistry naturally works itself out? At least for now, Indiana appears to be choosing the second path, and that decision could ultimately define how far this team is capable of going.
Fever are ultimately going to have to make a long-term decision on who they want to ride with, and that's either Kelsey or CC. Hey, Mr. Three-Point Team, you ain't never lying. That is the truth, because based off what Sophie Cunningham said yesterday, they made their choice. They rocking out with Kelsey Mitchell another damn year. Which is crazy to me, but it is what it is, man.
What these roster cuts really reveal is the bigger philosophy shaping the Indiana Fever right now. The organization appears to be prioritizing continuity, experience, and trusted veterans over taking risks on younger players who may offer higher long-term upside. That approach can absolutely make sense if a team truly believes it's only one missing piece away from becoming a championship contender. But the real question is whether Indiana is actually at that stage yet. Megan McConnell showed during her time in Australia that she has the potential to grow into a valuable rotation player capable of bringing energy, defense, and versatility off the bench. Kiana Traylor, meanwhile, demonstrated the kind of three-point shooting that could have created additional spacing for Caitlin Clark and opened the floor offensively in important moments. Yet instead of leaning into that potential upside, the Fever appear more comfortable investing in players and systems they already trust. And that brings the conversation back to Stephanie White. Throughout her coaching career, a familiar pattern has followed her teams. She consistently builds disciplined, competitive rosters. Her players respect her. Her teams stay organized, and they often put themselves in position to compete. But somehow the final breakthrough always seems just out of reach. At a certain point, when the same outcome keeps repeating itself year after year, that pattern stops feeling coincidental and starts becoming part of the larger story surrounding a coach and a franchise.
Got to play. I just have to be honest, man. I ain't gonna lie to you, dog. She made the most when she got to play. Not even gonna lie, dog. And it just, I don't know. But I feel like a lot of people is definitely mad about McConnell. Somebody else said, hope McConnell gets the...
So here's the reality. Jaylen Brown making the roster is absolutely a win, and fans are excited because she earned that opportunity. But the bigger picture surrounding the Indiana Fever is far more complicated. Instead of making bold moves to fully maximize Caitlin Clark and reshape the roster around her strengths, the Fever chose the safer route, sticking with familiar decisions and the same overall formula that got them to the playoffs last season, but no further. The players clearly respect Stephanie White, but eventually this franchise has to decide whether it wants to simply stay competitive or actually build a championship team. The roster is now finalized, the season is about to begin, and the pressure is officially on. Now the question becomes simple. Is this team truly built to contend? Or are the Fever risking another season of getting close without ever fully breaking through?